Hello, loves. Damascena here. I had said during our deepening call that I would get on and make a quick video for you about a method that I use to kind of um, get myself to an empty space or a blank canvas moment in regards to story or self authoring. And so it's been a while since I've done this little presentation. I hope that I can do this in a very clear and concise way and not take too long. Usually it takes me like 30 minutes to really go through this thoroughly. So I'm going to try and do it in an even shorter time because I feel like I'm working with some really enlightened beings that hopefully will get it, although I'll happy to answer any questions if you have them later. So let me really quick share my screen with you guys. Hopefully you can see this. Excellent. Okay. So this is called What Happened and What I Made It Mean. And it's a framework that I use to be able to distinguish whether or not, like I said, I'm in a story that's running me. So, um, this is really useful when you're operating inside of one of your own self conscious or self limiting beliefs, and when those beliefs are unconscious, which usually they are. Um, the dangerous thing about beliefs is that we often use them to as an excuse not to question things further. And again, this is unconscious, so it's not blame. So, like for instance, let's say I believe that the coronavirus was created in China. Now, because it's a belief, I probably don't have really good solid proof of that, and so I'm just believing it based on you know whatever evidence I deemed worthy enough for me to believe it. And um, and what the belief does is it allows me not to have to question further, to not be in an open space of inquiry anymore. So there's no like fluidity or anywhere to go once there's been a belief created. And so what happened and what I made it mean is about story. We're going to look at the thing that happened and then how it was collapsed together with what I made it mean. And I'll give you a meaningful example so that you can follow what I'm saying. So, when I was younger, my father left. I was 13 years old, and he and I had gotten into a fight. And my mom got really upset with the way he responded, and she told him to leave. And he never came back after that. And so, what happened in this scenario is that my father left. Now, what I made it mean was that I was unlovable and unworthy of love. And so I had then begun to operate my life out of the middle point of the Vesica Pisces in the collapsed area because I collapsed the two as though they were a fact, as though, and it became a belief that I held that my dad left and I wasn't worthy of love. Um, so the story went kind of like, yeah, my dad left, and then I was feeling so badly about myself. I started having sex at a really young age with a bunch of different men. And then I could never, in those moments, find the love that I wanted. And so, the evidence is there that I made it mean that I'm not lovable. Um, and if we never take time to go back with our stories, um, and distinguish the two, so like uncollapse them and go, what happened and what did I make it mean? We then usually get trapped inside of our story. So I'll use just another example because this is something that I just consistently use now all of the time for really small things just to help get me out of the trap. So the other day in the store, a woman called me a bitch. So that's the what happened. What I made it mean, and I think because I'm human, we all do this, that you're never going to be perfect at applying this method. I mean, I can go months doing it perfectly and really well, but then I'll get trapped again. And God love me because I love being not perfect. The what happened was she called me a bitch. And the what I made it mean was that I was bad. Like I'm a bad person. I felt shame. And then I came home later and my husband didn't like smile at me. He was kind of like off when he got home. And then I went into the story that, you know, really she was right, you know, like I really there's something was off with me. And so what I had done was collapsed the what happened two different times with the story of what I made it mean. And what's really so insidious about these small things is that they weave back and rise up now in support of old stories and old self-limiting beliefs, because the story that I was bad wasn't born at the supermarket. The story that I'm bad was born when I was a child. It was born in a classroom with a teacher. And this is where the weaver comes in, because all these stories, the things that still happen today that rise up as evidence that our beliefs are correct, weave usually back to old stories that we're still in agreement with. And so the point is to write a story that leaves me at choice. So instead of my dad left and that means I'm unworthy and unlovable, writing a story that leaves me a choice goes, what happened? My dad left. And what that means is that he was having some issues on with himself. And it caused me a lot of pain, but I don't have to make it mean anything about me. It That story leaves me a choice. I could write the story if I'm having a lot of fun and being really playful that what happened was my dad left and I made it mean that I'm a magical princess and my powers were just too strong for him to stay in the house. And if I had written that story as a childhood immediately, my future and my life would have looked dramatically different if that was the way I um, ended up interpreting his actions or authoring my own story. I wouldn't have had a child when I was a baby. And I'm not saying that this is anywhere right or wrong. I love my son. I'm glad my life happened the way it was. I'm just saying that to illustrate how the um, the what I made it mean being collapsed in with the what happened has profound impact on our lives. And so the opportunity here with the what happened and the what I made it mean is that when we can uncollapse them and start to deconstruct the stories using the model, we can weave and thread our way back through our past and start looking at, the stories that are running us. You know, if you had a bad experience in a classroom and you got things wrong in front of a classmate and now you're having trouble being successful in your life, there's a way that that story weaves back and this model could be applied to it, and then you could write a new story that leaves you at choice. I just want to illustrate one other thing, and that's the part that leaves you at choice. There are a lot of things that happen in life that are honestly empty and meaningless. And I don't mean to say that we shouldn't have extreme passion and zest for life. I just mean that ultimately, if we're really at choice, they don't have to mean anything. And so I wanted to illustrate the way you can use the word and to get to this point. So the woman at the store called me a bitch. And instead of going into needing to fill in this circle of what I made it mean, I can use the word and leave it open. So what happened? She called me a bitch. And it's really empty and meaningless. It probably has no meaning whatsoever in my life. And I can, in that moment where I apply and it's a practice, it's not like you just arrive there and you have to keep coming back to it in the beginning. Um, the moment I apply that word and, I'm leaving myself at choice. I can come back in and fill it in later. I can tell myself I'm going to wait for more information. If I'm really skilled, I can get to that place easily where it's empty and meaningless. But the word and is a really powerful portal in when you're using this method. But don't use it because I said to use it. Go through the full process. All right, have I collapsed a story? Yes, great. Let me deconstruct it. What happened? She called me a bitch. What did I make it mean? And answer honestly, oh, I made it mean that I was bad. Great. What do I want to make it mean? And then I just say it to myself. I say it because once I start asking myself from the framework of deconstruction, from the framework of making distinctions, then I can leave myself with the and part. Or if I want to be complete with it really quickly, a lot of times I'll make up some kind of fantastical ending. Like she had been locked in a basement and held captive by someone and just got out at the store and was really in a state of reaction. And so it doesn't mean anything about me, but at least I'm really complete there. What this model does then is leave you at a place where you're free of the threads, all of those stories that weave together and rise up in support and evidence of our self limiting beliefs. They leave us at a place of choice and emptiness, where now we're radically responsible with how our life turned out. My dad left, and I made it mean that I was not worthy and not lovable. I was a kid when I made that choice. What also happened was I wasn't really supported in providing myself a good framework for processing that. However, it's still my story. I still own and claim ownership over what I did make it mean. And once I claim that ownership, I'm left with the ability and an opening to go back and write a new story right there. I want to kind of leave it there because I feel like I'm going to go too long or start being really redundant and repetitive. This is very existential, and it can be very difficult to apply such a mm, dry, it's kind of a dry framework onto things. It's very removed from the drama of what happened and the emotion of what happened. So try it out in a playful way. If you're going to use it, be very playful and imaginative. And I would try it on small things before maybe trying it on some really serious things. And again, I'm here if there's any questions. I love you guys. I don't want to keep talking and talking. So I'll check back in with you later. Love you. Bye.